Today on Ms.Geek.com, relays. That's right, we are going to be replacing the relays on a BITX40 without any special tools, just a soldering gun and a hard surface. Stay tuned. The BITX40 has two relays marked K1 and K2. These are simple dual position, dual throw relays, which means they have two positions. When they're off, they're on one position, and when they're on another position. And this serves the purpose of switching the BITX40 between transmit and receive. So when this one turns on, it switches the path of the RF here, and also turns on the PA. And then this one switches the antenna from transmit and receive, and I believe also powers another part of the circuit. Sometimes these go bad. Right now, this one is having problems. This is my original BITX40. You might notice that it has the hookup for the original VFO, and that's because this was a pre-Arduino BITX40. So this is one of the very original ones. And I've hacked this thing to death. It's got lots of fixes on it, repairs. But one of the things that's been plaguing me while I'm putting it back together is this relay right here. Now, this one I previously replaced, and in fact, I just got done replacing it, testing my method here. But this one's the original that was in it almost 2 years ago. So this one's got to come out, and we got to put a new one in. So I got some new ones from Amazon here. And we're going to work on replacing this one with one of those. So the first things first, this one has to come out. And that's going to be a little bit difficult because we have to desolder all 8 of these connections right here. So we have to remove the solder, and if you're like me, you're going to have to replace it with just your soldering gun, your soldering iron. So I've got this, my favorite soldering iron here. It's just a Chinese adjustable soldering iron, and we're going to use that to get the solder off of this, and then slowly work the relay out of the printed circuit board. Number one thing is don't overheat it. If you overheat the board, you will lift the traces right off of the board, and then you have 2 problems. So the trick here is, instead of to work with a lot of heat, it's to work with a lot of speed. So let's get right into it, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so here is my workbench, and you'll notice it's a bit of a mess, and that's because every ham's workbench is a bit of a mess, right? I've got Arduinos and 3D printed parts. If you've followed my blog for any time, you'll notice that this relay used to live right here, and I cut it out and replaced it with one of the new relays just a few minutes ago. But that was a poor example on showing how to do it, because the relay itself was wired up. It wasn't actually in the circuit board. So I'm going to show you how to remove one that's actually the original. So there are going to be people who do not like my method, and I'm okay with that because my method works and I haven't had any problems with it. Your mileage may vary, and I'm not going to say that this is a perfect method or that you should even do it. This is what works for me. And if you don't like it, that's okay. I don't need to be liked by everybody. So let's focus on what actually works here. So to remove this solder, we're going to use gravity. And we're going to use gravity 8 times. And what we're going to do is we're going to use a soldering iron. We're going to heat each of these individually. I'm going to heat this, and then I'm going to give it a nice whack. And that's going to this will stay molten just long enough for the gravity to do its job, so inertia to do its job, and remove that solder from that. So let's give it a shot here. So I'm going to warm it, and then there's a nice bit of solder right there. and it's hard to see on the board, but there is in fact less solder on it. So we'll do that to the next one. Heat it, it's molten, give it a whack. Solder. So I'm just going to keep doing that. And we can do that one again. So you'll notice there's a bunch of solder here, and that solder is the result of basically heating these until they're molten and then giving it a firm whack. We did get rid of a bunch of solder here. Now the trouble is it's still not loose, so we're not quite there. So what we're gonna have to do is work a little bit quickly. I'm gonna hold this and apply pressure to just one side. So basically I'm pulling up with my finger there, and then we're going to work across a couple of these while at the same time pulling. Try not to burn yourself. If you're like me, that could be a challenge. And if you get any movement, it's good, and then you can switch to the other side. I think I just felt a little bit, and I can see a little bit of a gap there that wasn't there before. So now I'm going to switch to the, ow, I just burned myself. Switch to the other side, which is a little more challenging because there's not really a handhold there. There's nothing to hold on to right there, especially when you're trying to finagle it so that the camera can see. So I'm just going to try the other corner. Make sure that it gets long enough there for it to be molten. And then switch back. Now, really, if you wanted to do this a lot faster, you could use a solder sucker. I don't have one. I've had like 3 of them, and I lose them every single time, so I just kind of am lame and gave up. But this is a dirty way to do it, but it works. And now you could even, now that there's a little bit of room there, you can get more creative. And the reason I can do that on this relay specifically is because there's only one track right here, and I'm not hitting it. On the other relay, that might be a problem, but I did it clearly because the other relay's been replaced. So. And hey, look at that. I've got a relay popping out. So I can push this deeper now and give it a little slight twist there. Check it out, we're almost there. So now I'll just put this on the other corner. I'll try getting it by hand because that didn't work. I'm trying to do it so the camera can see as well, and it's not easy. There we go, just pushing on it a little bit, pulled it through. One of these is still sticking. Which one is it? Oh, it's this corner up here. So warm it up, give it a tug. This one is still not quite loose in this corner. Here we go. So the relay's out. One of the pins broke off. That's okay. That's not going to be that big of a deal. So now we can take a look at it, and we can see I'm looking at this through the light. I can see through 6 out of 8 holes. That's really fantastic. That's going to make it so much easier to solder in a new one. So I'm going to 86 this one, missed, and now I'm going to use the same gravity trick to clear these holes. So I'm looking at it here. I've got this hole, and I've got that hole and that hole are not clear. I'm looking at it through sunlight here and also through my work light. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go underneath, identify those holes, and we're going to do the gravity inertia thing again here. So we're going to make sure it gets nice and molten. I'm going to hold it here for a moment and then give it a whack. And that did not do it, so we'll do it again. It takes a couple of tries. There it is. There's some solder. Still not clear. Still not clear. So here's where a little trick comes in. We're going to do the counterintuitive thing and add solder. Because chances are we're not making everything molten. So by adding solder, we make sure everything is molten. Almost there. So close. Man, that is just so close. It's close enough that I'm going to try manually clearing it. I've just got to find something small. I know my brain does not count. That's soldered. Maybe a little pin from this jumper here. So what I'm going to try doing is I'm just going to try soldering that in. And the hope is that the solder will stick to it as it comes through, and then it'll be easier to remove. There we go. And that's not really soldered in there, and now the hole is clear. So next one is this one right here, third one on the left. Heat it up. That's the one that broke off. Heat it up, gravity. Clear. Now take our brand new relay. Just make sure all the pins are straight because they are very small and they bend really easy in the packaging, so it's really no surprise that they're kind of bent. So get those as straight as you can. Orient it correctly. Don't force anything. It should just fall in. If it doesn't, then just look to see which one is not working or not lined up correctly and give it a nudge. Almost there. This one's just not quite. A couple of holes were a little tight, so there we go. And we'll just solder it. You don't want to overheat these, so let's just give it a quick solder here. I'll use a longer piece of solder so that you can continue to see the process. And there you have it. New solder, new relay. That's it. That's how you replace the relay in your BITX40. And or in your micro BITX, it's the exact same thing. It's even the same relays. So I'll put a link to the relays in the description below, and I'll probably make a blog post about it here. And if you have any questions, post them in the comments, or either on YouTube or at miss.geek.com. I'm going to post this in both places. Also, you can follow us on Instagram, miss.geek. And that's it. I hope you found this informative. And if you have any questions, make sure leave a comment. And also, if you would, because you love me, subscribe, click the little notification icon the little bell at YouTube. So I post new videos, you'll get notifications. So thanks for watching.